few examples of what people are doing to make sure that the thing that they that they feel is the best part of being human is something they focus on, right? And each of you who didn't have a chance to speak, you know, really let that sink in, because there are choices about this journey. And that's something that we really want to focus on here for the next little bit, is the idea that the choices you have in this journey, sometimes we see that the emphasis you put on getting stuff done and figuring it out and getting to the next thought or getting to the next project, or, you know, that sort of forward movement day by day, days pass, becomes the way you think life should be navigated. And we would like to encourage you to remember that really your life is a series of choices. Some of them feel instantaneous, therefore not exactly choicey, but they still are choices. Some of them you know, contemplate, like leaving a job or changing relationships or getting a new place to live, and that feels more choicey to you. But the truth of the matter is every single moment of the day you're making choices. And some of them you've kind of automated, and those often we call habits. And some habits are healthy and some habits aren't. The ones that aren't, we've been working diligently for years on helping you guys recognize. I'm going to recognize where I'm having an unhealthy habit. So we focused a lot on habits. But there's another layer of this focus we want to do now, which is to focus on the things that aren't exactly habitual and things that aren't exactly like, you know, changing jobs. It's the changing jobs category, and then there's the straight out habitual category. Okay, like Veronica had the example earlier of getting up in the morning, checking your email in a very habitual way. Okay, obviously that's not as important as should I move or get a new job, but they're both habitual. It's easier for us to talk to you about the getting a new job kind of way you can be habitual. And some of those things about like how you check email are so personalized that it's hard for us to go around the circle and go, we think you're habitual about the way you open your car door or something. You know, that's not a layer that it's easy for us to give you clear examples of how to change. And you may not even think to ask us about that level of how to change those things because it gets the job done. You know, if I hold my keys in my right hand, it's easier for me to open the door. Therefore, it's okay to be habitual because the purpose is to open the door. Yeah, okay. Some habits get the job done. And those habits are over there for now. And the getting the job habit, or the getting the job attention to the choices you make about getting jobs, that's over there with you guys. In the middle is choices that you're making in a patterned way. A patterned way. So maybe the way you cook your meals. Or, how can we say this? It's so like, we know what it is. We're just trying to find the right words. When you forget that there's an opportunity to choose. When you forget there's an opportunity to choose. So let's say you want to do something like make eggs, right? And we don't know about you guys, but there's a little pan Veronica has that's about this big that's perfect for making a couple eggs. And so that's the egg pan. Okay, just because it is the egg pan doesn't mean it's not still a choice to use it to make eggs. Do you see what we're trying to say? Mm-hmm. Just because it is the path to drive your car to come to channeling is this road, it doesn't mean that you're not choosing that path also. So what we want to do is put a little more awareness, and we might invite you to say, I'm choosing to. Remember how we used to do I'm tempted to kind of break the mind pattern? So let's try out all together as we go about the next couple weeks. I'm choosing to. I'm choosing to have eggs for breakfast. I'm choosing to use the pan I've designated as the egg pan. I'm choosing to use this spatula. I'm choosing to use this burner. Because if you're just like, psh, 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 right, it gets shit done, which, you know, sometimes that's a great thing. But what happens is this. The more of those things you have that we'll call just cooking eggs, right? So now you understand that pattern. We'll call that just cooking eggs. The more things you have that are in the just cooking eggs category, the more you will put in the just cooking eggs category. And then it has to be shit hits the fan for you to be conscious about it. Or we say something like brush your teeth with the opposite hand and you go, this is hard. So what we want to do is expand the awareness of the things that you would put in just cooking eggs that are actually choices. So that when you rub up against one of these moments where you're tempted to habituate, you might instead say, I'm choosing to, and do I want to make this choice? Now obviously with the eggs, Veronica's kitchen, not very exciting, you'd be mortified. So she's going to cook eggs in that pan, because otherwise, not going to have any eggs, right? So this is an easy thing. It's very straightforward. However, there are places where if you go into, I'm choosing to cook the eggs in this pan, when there's 5 things to choose from, you will be less likely to just go with the one that's right in front of you. And what happens is when you just go with the one right in front of you, the other 4 might have something really clever about them that insight would help you, or insight might nudge you toward, but you're kind of train tracky to the, this is the egg pan thing. So like, let's say there's 5 things, and insight's all interested in Mr. Thumb, and you're train tracky because I've always cooked eggs in this pan, and insight's over here going but. If you don't have that little break in your mental thing that says, I'm choosing to cook eggs in this pan, it's very, very easy for you to just drive straight into that. And the voice of insight is maybe not yet loud enough, or you're not tuned into it enough to break that very train tracky drive that you have. But if you say, I'm choosing to, see how it kind of slows you down? I'm choosing to, and then you're like, insight, what about this, what about this, what about this? Has a little space to make a sound. Now, when we talk about what pan you use to cook eggs, it's kind of ridiculous. But it's good to start with those really basic everyday things, because you have so many of them. That's the beauty of them. They're everywhere. I'm choosing to, I'm choosing to, I'm choosing to. And then when insight says, but what about? But what about? Or you start to feel or hear an alternative to that. This is where we've worked with Veronica for years. You guys probably would crack up to know how often we do this. She's like, I'm choosing to. And we're like, how about this? And she's like, Eloheim. And then she tells us all the reasons why our idea is a bad idea. That would mean driving further. That would mean this. That would mean that. And we're like, okay, so you can talk us out. You can talk yourself out of the idea being interesting to you, or you can talk yourself into it. Which are you going to pick? That's a really good question for everyone. You can very much easily talk yourself out of things. Like the survival instinct will help you with that every day of the week. But what about talking yourself into it? And part of talking yourself into it is, I'm choosing to. I'm choosing to say, this idea that I'm not sure about, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just choose to, rather than choose not to. And a lot of times the choose not to is because I'm train tracky, or I feel like this is safe, or I've done it before, or it's habitual, or that other thing, because I didn't think of it first, might feel a little stretchy or uncomfortable or confusing, or whatever you want to talk yourself into. You can really find lots of things. It's not hard. I mean, we're preaching to the choir now. You guys know. It's much easier to talk yourself into doing something you've done before than talk yourself into doing something you've never done before. That's just straightforward. So when you get insight, remember we've said insight's going to be the thought you've never thought before. So that insight is going to be something that's going to stretch you. It might sound fun and exciting, but going to Disneyland's fun and exciting, but it still might stretch you to get someone to watch the dog and get down there and the gas and the, where are we going to stay? It's a stretch even if it's fun. It's a stretch even if it's fun. So different things are fun, but they stretch you. And you will talk yourselves out of going along with the stretchy thing if you don't talk yourself into it. And when you say, I'm choosing to, more often what you do is you make a little more space. It's kind of the empty space that we talked about, the open space. It makes a little more space for you to contemplate before you commit to a habitual or a course of action.